lost focus on safety in the last 4 years. It's not as safe as we were when I left council. My business that I own is downtown. We see, not just, more and more people struggling with how unsafe it's become, but more and more vulnerable people. We have 5,000 unhoused people in our city. We see, painful, tragic overdoses at much higher rates than we've seen in a long time. All that has made for a general feeling of discomfort and unwellness in our downtown. We have to focus on making transit 100% safe. We have to provide the right resources, whether it be day shelters, transitional housing, or supportive housing for people who are vulnerable, living with addictions or mental health challenges in our streets. That means a better relationship and a mature relationship with all orders of government. If any one order of government could figure out these issues, many of them would have been solved by now. It really takes a team effort across different governments. So my plan is on safety, on helping our vulnerable people, and on affordability. This has been a very expensive 4 years. Keeping tax rates reasonable, freezing transit fares, making sure utility rates aren't putting extra burdens on family. These are important issues in the next 4 years.
Sounds good. Dhegeystayaal waxaa inoo martay Micheal Walters oo u tartamaya Duqa Magaalada. Laba jeer oo hore ayuu ahaa councillor. Haddana waxa uu u tartamayaa Duqa Magaalada Edmonton. Waxaad nagala soo qaybgeli kartaan taleefanka nambarkiisu yahay 780 780 extensionku waa hal si stuudiyaha toos laydinkugu soo gudbiyey. Michael, those lists, and I'm reading also your website, the priority of the safe city and other priorities I can list here: support vulnerable people, growth that is reasonable, and connect communities. Those are very good lines or talking points, but how are you gonna manage? How are you gonna make it practical?
So how we make Edmonton safe is firstly taking the politics out of policing. I think that in the last 4 years, we've had a lot of dysfunction in the relationship between City Council, the Police Commission, and the police service. We have to work as partners. Edmonton actually leads the country in a lot of innovation in something called social policing, which is where frontline officers work more directly, day to day, step by step with social agency, mental health workers, social workers, community groups. Because not everything that police deal with is actually a police issue or a criminal issue, but they get called to a lot of things that they aren't actually the best fit for, which is why we need to build those important partnerships. But often social agencies and social agency workers get caught up in situations where police are important. So I think just building a culture in Edmonton where partnerships really drive our approach to public safety really matters a lot. Of course, one of the challenges we have in Edmonton is a large number of homeless people and people struggling with mental health and addictions. One thing we lack in Edmonton that other cities have is a comprehensive day shelter space. People have nowhere to go during the day, which is why you see them in LRT stations, you see them in our public libraries, you see them in front of our businesses downtown, struggling with addictions, languishing, they're uncomfortable, they're being exploited, and the whole downtown feels unsafe. We need day shelter spaces for people to be taken to, where they can get the services, supports they need to get healthy, get back on track, while we're making the investments we need the changes we need to invite investment back to downtown. We need more people downtown. We need twice as many housing units downtown. We need people coming back to work downtown. That's going to make downtown safe.
Great. You mentioned partnership and taking politics out of policing, and that's not a simple task. I mean, do you have a magic ball that can make that happen? Because there was a big issue in this term,
right,
especially between the city hall and the ledge.
Yeah, the magic is leadership with a strong dose of collaboration. We know we have opportunity. New police chief, we'll have a new mayor, a new council, and a commission that I think is more and more committed to partnerships. So I think personalities matter a lot. My intention as mayor is to recognize the important role that police play, but that they're not the only solution. And in fact, most often with some of the circumstances we see in our downtown today, it's social supports that are important. But like I said earlier, we need to work arm in arm, hand in hand across whether it be police, social agencies, community groups, cultural groups. We all have a stake. So, it just takes leadership to encourage partnerships. If you have leadership that encourages division, you're going to get division. If you have leadership that encourages collaboration and works toward collaboration, that's what you're going to get. So the magic that you ask about is, in fact, leadership.
That's a very good point. Leadership. Often it's also the dollar value. It needs money to function many things. And many Edmontonian feels city is taxing more, but doing little. Not sure of that, but that's what people are feeling. What do you think?
Well, I think this is, a challenge that we have to face is in the last 4 years, we've seen some pretty significant tax increases, which really are having the effect of making us less competitive investment-wise in our city, meaning businesses are not likely to invest here, or existing businesses are more likely to leave and move to neighboring municipalities, which ultimately makes taxes higher for families, seniors, those homeowners, without the ability to improve services. So essentially, without a strong economy, a strong industrial, commercial tax base, we're not able to pay for the things that we need, and we're charging people more for less, like policing, like fire, rescue, emergency services, like bus drivers. These are all the things that make a city amazing and make a city work, which is why we need a strong economy to pay for it all. And particularly, I would also add, when it seems like more and more costs are downloaded onto us in terms of social services, we have to work extra hard to make sure our economy is strong. And that's why we have to thread that needle to make sure that we're, taxing people enough to pay for the services that they demand and need, and that make a city successful. But we can't tax them so much that we're chasing away our businesses, which actually pay for a lot of those services.
I checked the reaction of Edmontonians from your policy, and I saw a few things. One was, I think, a TikToker, Edmontonian TikToker, gentleman called. He has an issue with the plan that you said we're going to have a day shelters. He was just looking like you're trying to take people a few hours in and then let it go. So it's a temporary solution. It's not something that can help.
Yeah, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. My background, I worked at Bissell Center to start my career. I've always been an advocate for housing and important supports for people. Every agency, the folks that are working day to day with homeless folks now are all asking for the same thing. We need day shelters that provide people a safe place to go during the day. We have I think what the listener may not understand is that we have night shelters at night, that people are then kicked out in the morning and then have nowhere to go during the day. So while we're building the necessary transitional or supportive housing that people need, and the affordable housing that people need, people that are struggling need a safe place to go during the day. And that's what I care about, is that people aren't suffering, languishing, without dignity, without anywhere to go during the daytime. The problem is we kick people out of night shelters first thing in the morning. So that's the remedy.
Okay.
So the listener may not quite have understood what the purpose of a day shelter is.
And